Subscribe to our YouTube channel for in-depth interviews of India Inc. and press the bell icon so that you do not miss our updates.
Welcome to Nirmal Bang, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Hiral Datia. We have with us Mr. R.S. Sharma, former CMD at ONGC, joining in. Welcome to the show, Mr. Sharma. A great pleasure to have you on the show and to speak to you as well after a really long time. I hope everything is safe at home with you and with all the colleagues around.
Thank you very much, Hiral. Let me also greet yourself and all the participants with a very pleasant day to have. And everything is fine at my end. And I'm also happy to connect with Nirmal Bang after a long time.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Sharma. Mr. Sharma, overall, if you go to see the kind of impact that COVID has had on different economies, different sectors, it's unprecedented and literally no one has been left untouched. And you can't really say that, yes, some things have been done right by some country, some sectors have been saved. However, oil and gas as a sector is also something which has seen a major impact, mainly on the back of the crushing demand that came through because of the various lockdowns in different phases that we saw across the world. What is your assessment of the entire impact?
Yeah, one thing, a little correction to your statement. You said nobody is untouched. I feel from where it originated, they are untouched. If you look at the record, all major economies, they have suffered their negative growth. India has gone into this technical depression kind of situation. China has been the only economy who have seen that positive growth happening to their economy. So that's the worry. Other than that, the entire the globe, nobody is untouched. I quite agree. Some of the economies, some of the countries, they thought they are safe. Some of Scandinavian countries and all, but we have seen it has traveled everywhere. It has created havoc. And oil industry, you specific coming to this, i.e. the kind of turmoil we have seen in this industry within India and globally for the last, I would say that 8-10 months, it is unprecedented.
Hmm.
Not only economy, industry also going through a very difficult, very challenging time. I don't know where you would like to lead this for me to respond, but I'll be happy to respond global scenario as well as domestic scenario.
Right. So overall, if you go to see, with regards to where the entire impact goes, what's your view with regards to crude prices, especially because we saw what happened in the month of March, but that was only that one-off day where we saw crude prices get into the negative. The recovery from there to now has been really sharp, where we've already reached that $50 per barrel mark.
Right.
How do you see it maneuvering from here on?
Today it is down. Yesterday it was down.
Correct.
WTI as well as Brent.
Correct.
One thing I would like to explain to yourself and to all the participants is that firstly, the crude is the most traded commodity in the world.
Hmm.
Here, the trades happen for the deliveries next month. So, as a result, there's lot of the derivative trade is multiple times than the actual physical trade,
Hmm.
and at times it becomes difficult to draw a line between genuine derivative transactions and the speculation.
Hmm.
So that is really worrisome, and that is why the best of the experts,
Hmm.
best of the research analysts, nobody has been able to predict how it is going to pan out in times to come. But certain, that parameters, fundamental parameters, analyzing them, one can make a guess. So we have seen, and I did not go into this thing why this in US it became
Correct.
negative because the inventories build up and The next month deliveries to happen, one doesn't know where they will take it. So they had no choice but to have a distress sale. Thereafter, and that was the time, the total crude demand from close to 100 million barrels a day, there was a 20% in the drop in the demand because economy is closed, the sky is closed, so people not traveling, cars not moving out, industries also in lockdown kind of situation. So that was the scene. And thereafter, as slowly and slowly economies started recovering, we could see that consumption started growing. And as a result, the demand picked up and the prices also started moving up. Another great factor was the OPEC plus, the policies of the OPEC plus.
Correct.
So far, they have been able to decide jointly on the production cuts. The last OPEC Plus meeting was held probably on 30th November and 1st of December, where they had to take a call whether the production cut of 7.7 billion barrels a day that has to be continued beyond 1st January into next year or no. So the limited call they had taken, they agreed to increase the production by 500,000 barrels a day, and that production cuts to be maintained for another 3 months.
Correct.
That means January to March. Again, they will have to take a call. So that in a way was stabilizing factor for the crude oil. Crude oil went on recovering, demands rising slowly and slowly. We had seen that Brent going past $52. WTI also crossing the 50, but last 2 days, with this news about the new mutation in the pandemic. So again, the economies are spooked. Their flights are getting closed down. So again, there's a fear factor that demand will again go down. So as a result, the prices have come down. Again, the speculative market, they take a call on these things, and as a result, prices are down. I don't know. I was looking at some time back, it was again moving down. I don't know
Correct.
where it is right now.
Right. So with this, Mr. Sharma, another factor that we are considering, especially with regards to OPEC, is once again they've come out and said that the oil demand forecast that OPEC made, they have lowered it versus what they predicted in the month of November. Now, their projections for 2021 oil demand is around, say, 95 to 96 million barrels per day, which is down by almost around 410,000 from its projection of 96.3 million barrels per day, what the group had made in the month of November.
Correct.
And meanwhile, if you go to see from November to now, production has gone up. Now, this is mainly from, say, Libya, Iran, UAE, and Venezuela. These are few of the nations which have gone ahead and increased production. And
Right.
they've also agreed to lift the production by, say, another 500,000 barrels per day next year. Taking both of these scenarios into consideration, how do you see the oil market then reacting to it?
Another factor now we see that in US, shale industry in US, they in fact disturb the entire apple cart of this OPEC plus in terms of oil production as well as gas production. And now with this change of regime in US, the new regime, all the media reports say that President Biden would not be as supportive to the shale industry as President Trump was. So the industry is going to face headwinds. Shale industry is going to face headwinds. So I don't know what kind of headwinds they will be, but surely it is clear that now the kind of growth that was being seen in the shale industry, that will not be there. So we have to wait and watch that what precise policy interventions come to what extent the production limitations will be there. So that will be impacting elsewhere also. And we see how this pandemic situation, whether it worsens or it improves. Vaccination was a great positive for changing the sentiments to the positive, and as a result, prices were moving up. But again, people keeping fingers crossed. What happens? Only we can, sitting over here, we can say that it is all positive for our economy, especially this crude oil prices going down, and has been a boon to the Indian economy in terms of our imports going down, total expenditure going down. So that has been a very positive thing. Government was able to, with these low prices, government was able to increase the excise duty. State governments have been able to increase the VAT. So they have been able to generate more revenue out of this petroleum products and crude. So that's a good thing for the economy. Well, consumer is complaining. I think we can come to that subject later, but it is good for the economy.
Correct, absolutely. You know what you're mentioning, that overall, with regards to economic growth perspective, yes, this is going to be a positive that crude is low. The government has the bandwidth to increase excise duty and remain at those levels that we were paying probably a couple of months ago as well. But with this, Mr. Sharma, when you mentioned about the shale revolution as well, do you think there is a possibility, taking into consideration that 9 of the biggest shale gas producers in the US have cut their capex in the third quarter by one third? Now, despite these deep cuts, the cash flows of majority of them is still negative. Do you think we would face a lot of bankruptcies from these guys?
It is, that is a truth. In fact, I don't remember the figure now, the kind of borrowings, the debt these companies are having. And it was a stage came when the prices were below their, that break-even point. They continues to produce, and bankruptcies were not invoked, because if that revenue stream totally stops, that is going to be more catastrophic for the industry, for the banking sector also. So they continue to be in operation. But surely the kind of buoyancy that was there, the comfort was there in the Trump regime. Now industry will be more guarded, and let's see. I feel that there'll be limit in that to what extent they can increase the production, and that will be a comfort to OPEC plus. And for us, we wait and watch. But $50-$60 is the Goldilocks range that suits producers also. It suits consumers also. We wish the prices remain in this range only.
Right. And then with this, if you talk about where the demand is concerned, with a lot of people, if you talk about, in Asia, especially, the traffic growth has increased, the fuel usage has increased. But do you think it is going to be sustainable? Because the world's top oil importer right now, China, is nearly back to pre-crisis levels, as is the one in India as well, which is the third biggest importer of oil in the world. In fact, I was just reading a report where IOC said that the refineries are operating at 100% capacity in November, and this was the first time that they reached 100% after the pandemic. So, taking this demand, do you think it is going to be sustainable from here on?
One is, I'm sure I had read this report about a couple of months back, that oil demand perhaps has already peaked. It didn't touch 100 million barrels a day. And experts feel that the peak has already reached, so it will not come back again to that level.
Mm.
Also because the this energy sources, they are also getting diversified, the renewables,
Mm.
electric vehicles and kind of thing. So that's a good thing, I can say, for a country like India, because I was in the industry at the peak, at the level, early part of this century, when there used to be theories about this peak oil theory, that world is running out of oil, demand is increasing, and that is was that in 2006, 2007, the crude prices had gone up to $140 plus. But the shale industry has changed that perception. And now being talked about is the peak demand. So I think it's a good thing to happen. I don't know where we were. Am I on track? What you asked?
Absolutely. No, no, absolutely on
Yeah.
track with this. But do you think even, when you mentioned that if we are on track with the US stimulus package that is being announced, what will be the impact on crude from here on, according to you?
Well, this package in absolute terms, this looks huge.
Mm.
But looking to the US economy, there's a lot of criticism that this economic package, which has been released, is much below expectations.
Right.
And the theory in US is that if the economy has to recover, do that demand generation, demand growth has to happen, and that has been the philosophy. Let us put money in the hands of the people. Demand will come. That will generate supplies also, overall economic activities. So in a way, I agree that's a correct policy, but maybe it is not on the expected level, the kind of the package that has been announced. Let us wait and see. I would say that keeping fingers crossed.
Right. And then with this, all hopes were in terms of where the oil and gas industry goes, that the vaccine comes out as soon as possible. There is, we are back to say normal. And with all of that, now you have that second variant of the COVID threat that has started to threaten some parts of the world. If, God forbid, there is another wave with the second strain that comes in, resulting in fresh lockdowns where the pandemic intensifies, how
Right.
much pressure do you see on oil prices? And what is the kind of inventory losses we could be staring at?
In case and looking to last couple of days, there has been theories that this new variant is far 70% more spreading more infection. But I was also reading the chief scientist of WHO, Soumya Swaminathan. She was sort of giving comfort. No, it is not that bad. So, and also that whatever vaccines are being developed or being administered now, they are going to be equally effective for the new variant also. But these are all speculations. Nobody is able to say with certainty. And again, this uncertainty is the worst thing that humanity expects. Right now, we are at the crossroads.
Right. So, with this uncertainty as well, uh, if you could just help me understand what is the base minimum in terms of crude prices that a oil company can actually sustain right now.
Yeah, I would talk of our this Indian industry itself.
Correct,
Again,
Indian
let me
industry,
tell
yes.
you, in Indian industry, I can speak more specific to ONGC. ONGC, with the current amount of the duties and the taxes, they will be comfortable with the prices in the mid 40s range.
Okay.
If they go less than 45, then there's a pressure comes. Gas prices as it is are all-time low.
Low,
So
correct.
there's that is a losing business for ONGC. So crude prices remaining $50 plus, I would say this is good for the domestic industry. And it is also for consumer also, it doesn't hurt very much. Government is also able to fork out enough, more than enough amount of the taxes and duties. So consumer is able to bear, government is happy, producer would be happy. So $50 would be a kind of price in India. I would say that suits everyone and it doesn't hurt anyone.
Correct. And then with this, from here on, you have the electric vehicle space, which is expected to pick up really strongly.
Right.
Do you think if that happens, uh, it is going to be really troublesome for the oil and gas industry to survive?
I would be very definitive to respond to this. I don't think oil industry need to worry. At least I would say for the next 30, 40 years, there's no concern. There are new refineries, getting set up. You look at it, for the renewable industry, the base load is as it is very low. Globally, this fossil fuels, they provide 85% of the primary energy. In India, it is 92%. So renewables all put together do not contribute much. If we talk of EVs also, EVs, they need power. And if the power plants are going to be run on this, the coal, then there's not enough comfort. And as it is, it will take long time. The base is so small compared to this conventional energy. So I feel it will take a long time for EVs to really show an impact. But I must compliment the government. The current policies are the right policies, the right kind of incentives being given for this. And in that perspective, I would very strongly recommend to the government to promote consumption of gas. Gas is something that is 40% cheaper than oil. Only thing is that the infrastructure needs to be there, and to a very large extent, gas can replace the crude oil. So I feel that would be the right policy to at least for the transport sector, for the power sector, the use of LNG, the gas, the maritime sector, all can use this gas or LNG. And that should be the right policy. Incidentally, I had chaired one task force on a roadmap for gas-based economy. That report has been released by the minister. It is out from the India Energy Forum. On that platform I have done. And that's a very good report. It talks how that PM continues to say that we need to be gas-based economy. By 2030, we need to have 15% share of the gas in the energy basket. And this report comes out, it is doable. But with the current policies, no. There has to be radical change in the government policies, like incentives being given for EVs, similarly incentives to be given for the consumption of gas to gas producers. So those kind of changes, GST, like gas is not in GST. So there are quite a few things that recommended in the report. So that will be, should be the policy. EVs by itself is not going to be solution, at least in foreseeable future.
Right. And with this, Mr. Sharma, another thing is, you mentioned that till $40 to $50 per bracket band is something which is the most favorable for, Indian companies. Now, if crude prices go beyond that $55, $60 per barrel, and with that, you already have the excise duty, which is so high, do you think it will become really difficult for the OMCs to pass on these increases? And then this will actually uh, force the government to go ahead and again reduce excise duty so they get on a comfortable level?
This is a very difficult question to answer, Hiral. If you look at it,
Hmm.
the government has time and again they say the sector is deregulated.
Hmm.
There is no subsidy regime. Marketing companies are not being asked to supply this petrol, diesel, LPG at subsidized rates. And the government is not required to compensate these companies.
Hmm.
So if you look at it, the past in this lockdown period also, when this refined utilization was so low, the companies have not incurred losses.
Hmm.
Rather, Indian Oil, HPCL, BPCL, they are making reasonable profits. I wouldn't say very good profits, but reasonable profits they are able to do. So, uh, if the prices go beyond this, whether the government will be able to reduce the excise duty, that's a very, very tough thing for the government to decide. I don't think government will be able to reduce their so much of strain on the sovereign fiscal. So perhaps the consumer may have to take some more hit prices if the crude oil prices go up. Keep going up right now. It have come down. But if they keep going up, I don't think the government is going to reduce the excise duty or the VAT by state government. The consumer will have to bear the brunt.
Right. And then with this, Mr. Sharma, what according to you are the troubles of the industry which need to be met by the government so that it's a win-win situation?
Well, industry, I would say that downstream industry, that refineries, they are currently happy. The government is not making any direct intervention.
Hmm.
There have been indirect interventions. So that becomes a sort of sensitive thing, how that indirect intervention happens. Because how come all the three companies, they announce a price on the same day price changes happen and slight variation, the same prices are applicable to these three companies.
Hmm.
Only the other private operators, SR or Reliance,
Hmm.
they complain that it's a sort of cartel, should not be operated. But looking at the country, looking at the economy, I feel that is the right policy. Upstream industry feels the government needs to be more considerate. Excise duty, so the excise cess, which is now the 20%.
Correct.
You know, that was 20% was done when the crude prices had crashed and it used to in absolute amount. The industry was asking a relief. The government industry wanted it to be reduced to 10%. The government decided to make it 20%. And when the prices are moving up, this 20% hurts, really hurts. The companies, upstream companies, one has to realize they need enough cash generation to keep on investing for exploration. Exploration is not a revenue generating activity.
Correct.
So that expenditure for capex for exploration has to come out of the profits of the surplus to be generated. Otherwise, this industry will not survive in future.
Hmm.
We have seen this Oil India, ONGC in recent past. They have been suffering. Their share prices have been steadily going down because they are not getting the kind of comfort that is expected from the government. They have been crying for relief and the excise duty that is not coming.
Hmm. Hmm.
So I feel there the government needs to be more considerate to, futuristic health of these companies.
Right. And very lastly, Mr. Sharma, if you have to talk about natural gas as well. Now, gas prices are subdued, and the expectation is that they will continue to remain under pressure, at least in the near term, because international gas prices are soft. Domestic gas prices for the second half of FY21 have been reduced as well by 25% to 1.75 MMBTU. Now, taking this into consideration, do you think it's going to be troublesome for an ONGC as well?
Well, one thing I have been, heading ONGC for close to 5 years, and otherwise being with the company so long, I must say that I was fortunate to be with ONGC. The fundamentals of the company are very good. This is one unique company across the globe, which is also horizontally integrated.
Correct.
Entire range of oil field services are in-house. So that way, the company is able to absorb the setbacks when the prices go down. They don't have to depend too much on the hiring the prices on the services. Prices go up, so ONGC has in-house drilling service, in-house GNG services, in-house logistics. So they outsource only to the extent there's a mismatch between the domestic resources and the actual demand. So ONGC has been able to absorb all these setbacks. So, but that should not be taken for granted in the long run. So wherever needed, the comfort should come. Did I answer your question?
Yes,
or?
absolutely. No, correct. I mean, we understood.
Yeah, gas price. You are mentioned. Sorry, let me correct one thing. You said the gas prices globally have also gone down. You may not be aware. In recent past, last couple of weeks, LNG prices have shot up to 6-year high.
Correct.
Asian LNG prices are $11-12. So it was thought that LNG was, until a few months back, it was at $4 or less than $4. Now it has again shot up.
But is this, you think these prices will be sustainable right now?
I would say yes. If you look at it, compare on, that crude oil replacement, the prices, even these prices are cheaper than the crude oil. When we are importing 85% of the crude oil, gas imports are just about less than 55%. Let gas imports go up, LNG imports go up. And what government has to create that infrastructure, and lot of the consumption can move on this LNG and the gas, and that will be good for the economy. So gas needs to be promoted, I would say.
Absolutely, gas needs to be promoted. Thank you, Mr. Sharma, so much for joining us on the show. It was a pleasure to speak to you. I hope you enjoyed the conversation as well, because to get a well-rounded approach and outlook from you is always welcome and helps us understand a lot of things. Thank you so much. Stay safe.
It is my pleasure. I wish it will be worth if you get the positive feedback from the participants also. But it has been a real pleasure for me to interact with you, Hiral. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Sharma. See you soon.
See you.